Oh boy, are we going live? Yeah, you can see it. You can hear me. Let me take a drink of this water so I know I'm properly hydrated for the live stream that's about to take place. I have to wait for someone to show up though so I can get comments because I didn't actually start this live stream with any topics. I didn't have any topics when I started the stream. I just kind of started the stream because I've been really bored today again. I've been playing through Bloodborne, but there's only so many times that I can fail and fail on the same level and still want to play the game. Oh, Jalen Harris says, yo, yeah, what's up? Mm. There's only so many times I can sit there and I can fail on the exact same level of Bloodborne over and over and over again and be able to sit there and be like, yeah, I want to play this game. I want to sit here and I want to play this. Like, it's a great game, but if you're just sitting there and failing on the exact same level over and over and over again, it gets really bad. C says hello. Hey, how are you doing? Um, but like that game, it's weird because if you know the mechanics, you can play it really well. You can, if you know how to play. It said the stream was interrupted, and then the stream basically like refresh the stream if it's not working. But yeah, I don't know why the YouTube app does this. It does this all the time. It fucking, ends the stream randomly. But it still works. Okay, cool. But yeah, like I was playing the game and it was really annoying because I just had to keep playing the same level over and over again. So I got angry and I gave up. Anime Watcher says, hello, Star. Hello. But I wonder how people reacted to the last video that I put out because I feel like it was pretty heavy stuff. I feel like that video, I was surprised. I thought I would lose subscribers from that video. I looked at my sub count and I actually gained subscribers. Maybe it was the video I put out the day before that did it. But for some reason, there was like one dislike on the video. There wasn't a lot of like, there wasn't a lot of pushback from it. It just kind of existed. And by the time I posted it, I didn't really care because at that point I was like, well, the feelings should exist. I should, I should just say what's on my mind regardless of however people react to it. But like, I thought the reaction was going to be so much bigger, but it turned out that everyone was just like, yeah, that's Star. He's totally fine. And it was weird. It was weird because I had mentioned it to my friend, well, one of my best friends, and he told me the video was not surprising because he always kind of felt that I was different from all of the other people he talked to. I thought it was weird, is that he said the vibes that I give when I talk to him is completely different than all of his other internet friends. And like, he told me like, the fact that you've been in your room, just staying in your room all the time, in the dark, just making videos constantly for the last like 3 to 4 years doesn't really surprise me that you wouldn't be the most like emotional guy who, experiences these types of emotions that normal people do. And when I heard him say that, it made perfect sense to me, but I had just never thought of that when I was producing the video. Um, I feel like I could tell these things to my friends as if I were you, and they just already get that I'm like that. Yeah, like it. I sort of. It was weird because I sort of thought that some of them would get it. I knew my real ones. My real ones would be totally okay with hearing what was in the video, and they would understand. But like I had this sort of I think it's because I've spent so long sort of trying to formulate a character, sort of trying to act in a way that is in accordance with what people want. And so because of that, it's just been such a ingrained habit of mine to just not talk about things that I feel like a lot of normal people would look at and then, they would go, "Oh, that's scary. That's abnormal. I don't want to hear that." Like, but the thing is that the people who watch my videos aren't really normal people. Like, I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that, like, the people who watch these videos are probably pretty weird themselves, and so they have like one or two things about them that aren't the same as everyone else. And so when they hear it, they go, "Oh, I have something that's at least kind of similar to that. I can kind of get it." And like that it it was it was a process of like months and months of being able to warm up to being able to talk about it, because like the performance anxiety that I had, for YouTube, or for just like saying things that were sort of strange and out there, used to be way more intense than it is now. Only just a few months ago, it was very intense. And so there were just certain things that I was afraid to talk about. And being able to talk about that, I think it took a huge weight off of my shoulders. So that was nice. But like the fact that I talked about it was a sign of it not bothering me anymore. Like I wouldn't have been able to talk about it without, it being something that just didn't have the same weight. Normal people are oversensitive. Yeah, I agree. That people want everyone to fit into a box, and so as soon as you deviate from that, it's automatically scary because they're not exposed to those concepts. But like it was so weird for me. It was so weird for me to finally let all of that out, because I've sort of implied it in other videos or just outright talked about it. Like if you go back to the video Null and Void, it's a video from like 9 months ago. If you go back to that video, I literally talk about talking my mom out of suicide. Literally in the video, I'm describing, yeah, yesterday I kind of had to talk my mom out of suicide. Uh, didn't really bother me that much. It was just like a normal thing I had to do that day. Like very weird stuff, like very emotionally numb types of sentiments that, most people wouldn't consider a normal way to feel, but it had to be normal for me because I had just experienced so many traumatic things up to that point that there was no way for it not to be normal, you know? And so, like, it's difficult to emote about something when you've just experienced so many negative things that you can't emote about it anymore because it's just happened so many times. And like, I feel like I've gotten to that point where so many bad things have happened that it's just impossible for me to feel anything about it. Um, it happens. Please don't blame yourself. Yeah, no, I don't. It's just like I know that it's a product of the experiences that I've had where like it's sort of about, how do I explain this? It's sort of about like when so many bad things happen, eventually you're just unable to feel the same way towards it. Like I did the right thing in that situation. I did what I was supposed to do. I talked her down and I did what I had to do. I didn't feel anything about it. I felt like I was totally ambivalent. Like my emotions were just flat. And at the time it felt so weird because I thought I wasn't supposed to feel that way. And I hadn't felt that way in the past when worse things had happened, when, really bad stuff had occurred. But like, because all of those really bad things happened when I was younger over and over again, I was unable to feel anything about them when I got older because it had just happened so many times. And like, when I was trying to describe in that video how much I related to the main character from The Stranger, this very aloof guy who just kind of exists and doesn't really have a concrete stance on anything. I wasn't trying to say that I necessarily even identified with the philosophy of the book. I was simply trying to say that I related to the characteristics of him, to the character, the basic ideas of what it was trying to get across, the emotions of what it was trying to get across, or rather the lack thereof. And like, I got a few comments that were trying to say, this is like baby's first philosophy. You're reading too deep into this. You shouldn't take this philosophical stance. But the point was never about a philosophical stance. Like, it was never about, I've all of the sudden believed this because I read this book. It was, I read this book and I related so strongly to this character because I've had the same experiences. That's what I was trying to say. And so like when I got these comments saying that like, well, you shouldn't feel that philosophy, it's like, yeah, of course I have that philosophy because I've looked at all of the other philosophies and I can't identify with them the same way that I can identify with that one. You know, like, I think people underestimate the fact that the philosophy is a tool. It's not something that's just static or like objective that you can sit there and say like, this is my philosophy because I've objectively decided using these methods that this is my philosophy. That doesn't work that way. The reason you decide something is your philosophy is because the specific conditions that you've been brought up in necessitate that. Your circumstances as an individual lead you to believing certain things and doing certain things that accommodate your needs as an individual. Those needs are not shared by everyone. And so one philosophy that someone has is not necessarily going to work for someone else because their needs and circumstances are different. It's about pragmatism. It's about doing whatever works and doing what works for you as an individual, you know? I want to start on philosophy, but I'm currently reading on rhetoric at the moment. Yeah, but philosophy is a huge rabbit hole. Um, I started reading philosophical stuff about two years ago. I want to say 2 years ago. And it's a ginormous rabbit hole. It takes a lot of time. I've read a little bit of Chautir or Sartre, whatever you want to say. I don't like him. I've read Camus. I've read Heidegger. Unfortunately, I've read Nietzsche. I want to like finish reading Hegel, but like I tried and it was so dense. There was just so much stuff going on that it was really fucking difficult for me to unpack all of that. Um, you know, I want to read Kierkegaard because I think it's really interesting. I've heard summaries. I think I've heard summaries of just about every single philosopher that exists. Uh, so I know the basic idea of pretty much all of them, but I haven't read all of their individual works. That's what I want to do, is sort of get a sense of, reading these books for myself. I've read more than the average person, but I certainly haven't read enough to form a coherent stance on everything that they've done. But let's see. I have a guidebook going through the history so I can find the philosopher's counter arguments to Rekafag. If you want counter arguments to Rekafag, just read Hegel. Because Hegel literally counteracts like everything Rekafag says, is that if you just read Hegel, it'll fix all of it. I honestly, like, I wish I had enough patience to finish reading like anything he's done. It's just so dense that it's really hard for me to read all of it. I like Max Stirner a lot. Max Stirner is really fucking cool. People should read Max Stirner. Um, but yeah, let's see. What was I gonna say? I had a broader point that I wanted to connect this to. Um, but yeah, uh, like I feel like people kind of misinterpreted that the video wasn't meant to be emotional in nature. It wasn't meant to be like me saying, I'm super depressed at the moment, and so I'm going to get all of this out. Because I feel like right now, like my existence right now is me living the best life that I've lived throughout my entire life. Like when I look back on all of the years that I've lived in, when I look at all of the experiences that I've had, all of them, right now, my existence right now is better than all of those years and experiences combined. I am living the best life that I've lived thus far. And I feel like it's only going to get better from there. You know, when I leave this country and when I go off to go to school, there's just going to be more positive experiences coming. There's just going to be more interesting things to do, more sights to see, more interesting things to learn. And that's the important thing, is to always have a sense of progression, always feel like you're going somewhere, enjoying things. And like, I feel like when people watched that video, they sort of assumed that I was arguing from a depressed point of view, when really it was the exact opposite. It was a point of acceptance. It was a point of me saying, this is the way that I am, and I'm totally fine with saying that. It doesn't bother me the fact that I have to say this, because it's simply something that exists. And when I say emotional numbness, I don't mean, I don't mean feeling sadness. I mean the absence of emotion itself, which includes sadness. So like, it's not that I have a strong stance on either on either emotion. It just means the concepts exist. The concepts are being spoken and they exist, but there's not a stance on them. There's not like a coherent feeling tied to them. They just exist. And so like, that's what I was trying to get across, but I feel like it was kind of interpreted as being like depressing, even though that's not what I meant at all. But there was yeah, I had a feeling there were probably going to be some misunderstandings with that video, just because it's such a weird thing to talk about. Like, the majority of people don't feel the way that I feel, so it's sort of difficult to explain it to the extent that, people are going to understand what the mindset is in the first place, Um, I remember C left a really good comment where he said he said, I was just hyping people up for the hiding in my room of Vietnam arc, and I fucking died laughing at that. Like, it was out loud. It was so good. um yeah, no, I'm gonna become the hiding in my room of Vietnam. You're gonna see videos like I left I left my Vietnamese wife for like a guy or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's gonna be those are gonna be all of my video titles now. Confirmed. It's confirmed now. You're gonna get cheating videos and all this other stuff. Yes. Um, Man, I wish I was interested enough in relationships to actually do that. Like, hiding in my room is interested in sex. Like, he cares about those things. I don't. And so, because I don't care about it, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to ruin people's lives and be an asshole the way that he does. So like, so I have the ability to, but I don't want to, because there's no reason for me to. Like, like that's the main difference in mindset, is that for him it benefits him, but for me I just don't care. And so I literally don't have the energy. I literally don't have the energy to be the hiding in my room of Vietnam. I don't have the energy for most things. Where's the energy? Where is it? It's like everyone has so much energy to do everything, and I don't understand where it comes from. Um, but yeah, like, it's weird for me to talk about, because I feel like the fact that I'm talking about it at all is going to inherently lead to misunderstandings, because it's just such a fringe idea. It's just so weird for people to grasp. And so like, yeah, that was really the central problem with that video, is that I felt like no matter how much I clarified what I was talking about, it was still going to be misunderstood, because it was just so weird. And yeah, but I hope the people who did watch it did get like the basic idea. Because the point of all of these videos, the point of, you know, pouring my heart out into the words that I say in these videos, is because I want people to understand. I want people to look at these videos and to be able to say, okay, this is a guy that exists. He's not insane. He doesn't want to harm anyone. He feels differently and he thinks differently. And that's okay. You know, he's just a different guy. And like people like me exist everywhere. You know, we don't just disappear. Like we may be hidden from view, but the only reason we're hidden from view is because we're not talking about it. And that's not a good thing. You know, we should always be seeking to expand our knowledge of humanity as a whole by talking about these things that are very real, but people are too afraid to because of the societal standards that exist. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to say what your perspective is. You have to embarrass yourself by saying more embarrassing things. But it's all for the purpose of advancing the knowledge that we already have and expanding on it, bringing new knowledge to the table, even. Because if you're not talking about it, then people are just going to have the same biased view that they had before of people like me or people like you, where they don't really know what it's like. And so you have to explain it. You have to explain it the best that you can, as honest as possible, while, pouring your heart out as much as you can. Like that's the thing, is that it's about honesty. It's about being able to be as honest as possible about these weird things about yourself, because no one else is going to. There may be many, many people who are the same, but they're too afraid to say it. And the fact that you have the courage to say it is going to actively advance humanity's progress, because now people can watch that video and they can go, oh, this person is like this. And maybe I'll encounter someone who's similar, and instead of being biased and prejudiced towards them, I'm now going to look at their views and who they are in context. I'm going to understand the circumstances surrounding them rather than jump to a conclusion. I really want to see who's going to Area 51. Someone's going to show up and take it seriously. Yeah, people are like that. My phone is going to be low on charge soon. I'll have to leave now. Fascinating perspective as well. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot, man. Zesty says, "Hey, tweens." Yeah, what's up? Um, but yeah, like I haven't heard someone refer to people in my chat as tweens in like a long time. I don't think I've heard someone say that in like 6 or 7 months. That brings me back. That brings me back to Zabujard, when Zabujard would I don't even know if Zabujard makes videos nowadays. I think he does. I need to check, because I put him in my 3x3 video, and my 3x3 of YouTubers. I talked about Zabujard, and I know he got his computer taken away from his parents, and so he wasn't able to make videos because of that. But I haven't looked on his channel recently to see what he's doing. I mean, the channel might have gotten deleted again. Knowing him, the YouTube fucking free speech police out here has it out for him, trying to delete all of his channels. So I'll have to give it a look and see. But oh boy. But if you guys in the chat, if my real ones who are left in the chat have any questions to ask, I guess about the recent video or just anything in general, I'd be more than happy to answer. I started this stream without an actual topic. So if you guys have anything to ask, I'd be interested to hear. I always like answering questions, even like weird ones that I've answered before. I always find it really fun just to answer stuff. Ooh. Honestly, I should have just titled the stream like Q&A stream or something. How's your Japanese? Entering my 4th month, I've improved so much. Yeah, for the last 2 weeks, I haven't been studying as much. Like, I've been studying like once every other day. I've been bad about keeping up with it just because I've been playing video games so much that I haven't been studying as much as I'd like to. But at this point, I'm at about 300 kanji characters. And so, I mean, that's something, but I should be doing more. I should have more progress that I've made. It's just that, I've been kind of lazy about it, just playing video games instead of studying every day. So I'd like to do it more. And so far, I'm at 300. Most people doing the method that I'm using, they would have been able to get like 600 kanji characters by this point, maybe even more. But me, I've just been being lazy, so I only had 300 done so far. Mm. Oh Lord, but but yeah, you know what's weird is that every single day, literally every day I check the calendar. It's literally like I have a calendar where I basically check this is how many days until I turn 18. This is how many days it'll take. I think when I start working next week, it'll make the entire process easier and take less time. But I spend all this time being like, okay, we're almost there. you know, 194 more days until I turn 18. Come on, we're almost there. Almost there, guys. We're gonna do it. And I do this every single day where it feels like I'm always counting down until I can leave the country. Because that's the thing, is that the money that I make from working is just money that I'm making to have a provable income, to be able to get credit, to be able to take out a loan and then go to school. It's really what it is. Because I want to leave this place as fast as I humanly can. As fast as I can, I want to get out of here. And so for basically since when I became uh when I became 17, I've literally just been checking the calendar every single day to see how many days it is until I turn 18, because the presence of my birthday has always been there. It's always been in the background. Ever since I turned 12 years old, I've been consistently focusing almost every single day on how many days I have left until I become an adult and I can leave. But the feeling became like it became ultra charged. Like it became like 10, 20 times more intense when I became 17, because then I realized, oh, there's only 1 year left. And it seems like the older I get, the faster the years go by. So I'm like, there's only 1 year left. All I have to do is just wait one more year. And now it's like I count down the days every single day. Every single day I count down the days. And you know, let me see here. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff in the chat that I missed because the chat, I didn't have live chat on. Let me see here. Mumkey Jones harassed and stalked someone I know. It's so bad it sucks. She can't get the proof because his old account was suspended, so all the other messages disappeared. Yeah, that's messed up. Um, yeah, I would provide my just provide your condolences to her and talk her through what's going on. Um, it's definitely not something people should do. Like, I don't understand why people are so interested in harassing others. Like, it just seems like a waste of time to me. Like what would bring you to harassing someone for the sake of, like, what's enjoyable about that? It's just a waste of time. Like, I don't understand. You're just hurting someone for no reason, you know? Like, I don't understand what the joy in that would be. It's weird. It's weird, especially if someone didn't do something to you. Like, I can understand, wanting to harass someone if they did something to you. Okay, that makes sense. But like, just for no reason, like just for them existing, what's the point of that? What do you gain? What do you possibly gain from just hurting someone for the sake of them existing? There's no point. It's just weird. Like, it's such a it's just such a strange, emotionally charged mindset to be in. I don't understand it at all. Um, and it's just hurting people for no reason, you know? It's very like emotionally minded reasoning. It's just kind of gross, to be honest. But yeah, let's see. What was I talking about? I was talking about something. My memory is so bad that I can't even remember which topics I'm on. Oh yeah, birthdays. Okay, so, um, but like, so I I had a, ever since, ever since I was that age, for the last like 5 years, I've been consistently thinking about when am I going to turn 18. And even before that, even when I was really young, I thought about it a lot, just not to the same degree that I was checking off all of the days on my calendar. Like I showed you on that other live stream. I don't know how many of you were there for it, but I talked on that other live stream showing the old pictures of me as a kid and of my pets and stuff. And then in one of them from 2013, there was the calendar where I just marked off every single day on the calendar. And there was a reason that was hung up in my room. It was because I was always counting up the days until I turned another age. And like when I turned 18, or excuse me, when I turned 17, it was just like the entire process just accentuated, like it accelerated, like it's okay, we're in game mode now. We're in game mode. We can, it's only 1 year left. I can become an adult and I can go off to Vietnam and I can drink legally there and stuff and all this other stuff. Like just getting so excited about independence, about being able to be independent as a human being, you know? And I don't know, I'm really excited about it. And I think working this job, it's going to be hell on some level because it's a job, but at the same time, it's going to pass the time faster because, if you're making more money, you get the pleasure of spending the money. And then, you get to, you get the days to go on each day and you just have more money in the bank to buy more distractions. You buy more distractions until eventually you finally reach that day where, yes, I'm fully an adult now. I can get a proper credit, I can get the proper loan, and I can just get out of here. I can just yeet out of the country, I can go to school. That's really the thing I'm really, really excited about, since your memory is that bad, can you talk about something weird you saw on the internet, like a rabbit hole you can't remember how you got there? I don't really go through internet rabbit holes these days. Mm. I mostly just go on the same image boards. So I go on Lane Chan, Obaway Chan. I don't go on Tono Chan anymore because Tono Chan is basically like just filled with normal fags at this point. I go on the A board on 4chan just because I want to see what people are talking about, but it's really cancerous. There's so many summer fags there. Like the entirety of 4chan is basically just became summer fag central. Like instead of calling it 4chan, we should just call it summer chan at this point. But I like going on 8chan to find like links to stuff, and I like I go on a lot of image boards. I go to like YouTube, image boards, and then Discord. I don't really go anywhere else. No, something weird YouTube recommended you. I just look at my subscriptions. I don't really look at the recommended page. If I look at the recommended page, it's usually just because I'm super, super bored. On my bookmarks bar on Pale Moon, because I use Pale Moon as a browser. Excuse me. I use on the bookmarks bar I have a bunch of different chans, and then I have the subscriptions page. And so I just click on the subscription page like it's almost like it's my home page. Because I don't need to click on recommendations because it's just like the subscriptions are all I care about. Why would I need to look at recommendations? Let's see. Zesty says, I was at 15 of the Neat podcast when his channel was deleted. Hope he's able to re-upload the rest of the podcast. Yeah, I think most of the podcast is uploaded at this point. I know there's certain episodes that are missing. I don't remember exactly which ones, but it made me so sad. His videos, Sebujard is one of the greatest YouTubers in the history of this entire platform. Like the uniqueness of his content and the ability that he had to make jokes just on the fly in such a unique way, that the ability he had to craft such an interesting persona out of the suffering that he was experiencing was just amazing to me. And Like I kept telling people, the more subscribers I got when I was, just making the Hikikomori videos, the more I told people, go subscribe to Zabujard, please. He's so good. And like he had so few subscribers for how interesting his videos were. And, they just kept deleting his channel and he never got the recognition that he deserved, despite being such a great channel. So it makes me really sad. Maybe I can talk to him on Discord again. I don't have him on my current Discord. I'd like to speak to him. Uh, she gave nudes to Mumkey's friends without her face, luckily, and Mumkey was mad that his friend didn't give him nudes, so he pretended to befriend the girl to get nudes from her. Yeah, that's just kind of weird. Uh, if she ignored him, Mumkey would bitch and moan and guilt trip her to talk to her again. She gave nudes because she was dating him. Wait, she started dating Mumkey. Okay. Jeez. Yeah, there's a lot of like degrees of manipulation going on here. It's very weird. Uh every board on 4chan is a porn board now. Yeah, no, I agree. They were both using her for sex. Jesus Christ, the delusion that some people have. What the hell? Do all these people have is just free time on their hands? Do they have anything better to do? Any hobbies? Anything that they could do that's even remotely productive? Do they just spend all their time? Oh my fucking god, Jesus Christ. Let's see. Queer Axis says hello there. So yeah, it sucks. Without proof, she can't do anything because she doesn't want me to screenshot the convo we had because she thinks Mumkey will come back and harass and stalk her. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Mumkey has basically nothing to lose. So, I mean, I don't think it would be uncharacteristic of him to act in that way. Based on what I know, I don't want to assume too much just because I don't know the guy, trying to be completely fair here. But, it seems like he doesn't really care about anything anymore. And so I think that's a 100%, valid fear to have, especially, when you've experienced a very real traumatic experience of manipulation like that. I can definitely understand being afraid in that way. I think the healthy thing to do would just sort of to be there and be like, okay, we have to move past this. Like maybe justice isn't going to happen, but we just have to move past this as people and try and be stronger in spite of it, which is really hard. It just takes time. When you're in a traumatic experience like that, it just takes time to move past. No, I've had my fair share. I've had my fair share of experience similar to and worse than that. The only remedy for them is just time. So yeah, no, I'm really sorry your friend is going through that. Let's see. No, she dated Mumkey's friend. Oh, okay. Okay, it makes sense. Geez, so there's all this like sharing going around here. Like, this is what I don't understand. How do people have this much time on their hands? Like, if I was in Mumkey's position, I wouldn't be talking to people all the time and have enough time on my hands to manipulate people. I would just be like playing video games or reading books or like doing something productive and fun. How much time do you have to have on your hands to just sit there and manipulate everybody around you? It's such a waste of time. It's such a waste of time. And you're hurting people. You're simultaneously hurting people and doing so for no reason. It's a waste of time. Why? What motivation? Like I'm trying to figure this out. Like, what motivation would there possibly be to do something like this? It's just insane. It's a waste of time. It's insane. Like, I don't I really like it. I can't wrap my mind around this type of thing because it like I don't know. I feel like I'm just repeating the same stuff over and over again at this point. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions in the chat, I'd be happy to hear or answer them. Wow, 10 viewers of the stream. That's rare. I don't usually get 10 viewers. I did that 4-hour live stream at one point, and I got 10 viewers consistently the entire time for the entire 4 hours, and I thought that was pretty amazing that happened. It was like 4 hours and 30 minutes too. It was like insanely long. Oh boy. Who lordy. Who lord. I looked back at my old videos recently and I found out just how Southern I had talked in some of them. I thought it was pretty funny. As my accent has changed over time, where I tried to sort of emphasize certain elements of it that sounded more northern sounding or more like normal. And so it used to sound really southern. And I looked back at these old videos and I was like, man, things the way I've talked, like it's sort of weird because if you look back at videos I made only 9 months ago, 7 months ago, 6 months ago, the totally different intonation, there's totally different things that I talked about. Like how can someone change so much in such a short span of time? I had a friend, my friend told me the other day, Star, you really have changed constantly the entire time I've known you, and I've just stayed the same guy for an entire year. I'm like, well, I guess that's true, but I don't know why. Like I feel like my entire life I've been a different person every 3 months. And I think part of it is just because I don't believe in the self. I don't believe in identity. And because I don't believe in the self, I'm able to constantly shift and change. Now, of course, broad philosophical, political, sociological stances that I carry end up staying the same. I don't just change them because at this point I've read enough information that just confirms those beliefs that I just keep those beliefs. But there's a myriad of things that I do change on. And it's not even just about like believing something, it's about existence. Like your feelings as a person, like I feel like a completely different person every single day. Like every single day, my emotions vary so much that I just feel like a different person than I was the day before. But it's even more accentuated as the months go on because if I compare myself, 3, 4 months ago to who I am now, it's totally different in like so many significant ways that it's really weird and jarring to look at. And it feels like I've just always been like that, always constantly changing every couple of months into a different guy than I was before, for better or worse. Sometimes it's worse, but the vast majority of times, usually it just, I think, makes things more interesting, or at least, spices things up, adds new perspective. And so I think it's fun. I don't, people are so obsessed with identity and the concept of the self. You don't need a concept of the self because it doesn't exist. You're going to constantly change as a person because life is constantly changing. Emotions are constantly changing. They're transient. They're not some stagnant thing that you just bind to. They're always going to be moving around. The reason you have a concept of the self is because you decide to have one based on the story that you tell yourself. But that story can change. Just because you allow yourself to believe it does not necessarily make it true. It just means it's consistent in the sense that you've allowed yourself to continually tell yourself that story and act that story out. But it doesn't mean that it's just there. It's just as transient as it was before, systemically speaking, at least. Let me look at the chat. Uh, After she told me that I unfollowed Mumkey on everything, I don't see him as the same person anymore. I didn't care about him dating a pedo stuff since he's only fucking up his own life, as weird as that sounds. Once you start fucking over someone's life, that's more fucked up. I believe because Mumkey always treated her like shit when she was in the chats for him and his live streams. I was there. Yeah, I mean, if someone's, if someone's close to you, if someone's close to you, I can't blame you for not being able to watch their content because it's someone you care about. You don't you don't want to look at this person who you once cared about as a creator and then associate them with someone who hurt someone who was your friend. It's about empathy. It's about being able to experience that type of emotion and stuff. I mean, the weird thing for me is that like I've seen all this type of like moralism and stuff surrounding Mumkey's videos where people say, "Oh, he's dating a pedo and he's manipulating and all this stuff. He's doing all these terrible things." I feel like for me, because I'm just sort of disconnected from all those people that are involved, I just find it really interesting Like like the state of affairs video and the how I broke bad video, I thought that shit was fascinating to watch because it feels like I'm looking at it from an outside view. Like I'm not connected to any of the stuff going on around it. And so I'm just sitting here, I'm like, man, this is just really interesting as content. Like it's like a TV show for me. And it's because I'm not connected to it in the same way that you are. But I can totally understand where you're coming from. And I think it's a valid, I think it's a valid feeling to have. Uh, do you like cooking? I do not like cooking very much, but at the same time, I haven't tried doing it. So maybe I could learn. Maybe I could learn how to cook, and maybe I could become the ultimate cooker on YouTube. I could become the cookist. I could become Infinite Star, the neat. Maybe I could make a channel where it'd be like hikikomori cooking reviews or like neat cooking reviews. And I could make videos marketing to like people on image boards who are neats, saying like, "Hey guys, I can cook the way you can. Look at this. I'm making ramen today. Look, I made a package of ramen. We're cooking." I don't know. I felt similarly a lot of times in my life, feeling like my identity changes radically every couple of months, and sometimes it has been very detrimental for my mood and mental health. Not sure why. That could be like a mood disorder thing. Like for a lot of people, if you have a mood disorder, your identity shifts because your mood shifts. Like for me, you know, in the past, I've been told that I have like a mood disorder thing going on. But a lot of like the weird thing is that I was only ever diagnosed with a mood disorder after I took medications. And then when I stopped taking them, I stopped exhibiting the symptoms of the mood disorder. And so it was most likely a side effect of the medications that made me act that way in the first place. And also just being in a situation where I was constantly dealing with hardship is going to make you act really weird. And I think people underestimate this. People underestimate the importance of life events in how we act and how we feel emotions, because it isn't always just depression. It isn't always just bipolar disorder or even psychosis. There's a lot of studies that have been done that have suggested that psychosis can occur in totally normal individuals as a result of lots of stimuli, as a result of lack of sleep, as a result of a traumatic event occurring. It can happen to almost anyone. It just inhibits, these things. And like, people underestimate that, and so they end up identifying with having depression or bipolar because something bad happened in their life. And then once they start identifying with it, when it becomes solidified within who they are and their own view of their self, their story, they end up acting in the way that they would as someone who has that mental illness, even if they don't. So like, I think it's really, really important to take into account how experiences can cause you to act a certain way, and how the life circumstances that you're in can cause you to be a certain way. Because I know for a fact, the person that I am now, that I've been for the last, several months, is not the same as the person who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder some time ago. And I know that the person who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at that time was acting in that way as a result of the circumstances that I was living under, and as a result of the medications I was taking having adverse side effects that caused those mood symptoms. Those are two very, very important factors that can cause you to act a certain way. And so I think it's immensely important to take those things into account. And I still deal with like hallucinations every now and again, but as long as you take like CBD, which CBD is like totally legal, you can just buy it at the store. It has the same effects as it basically has the same effects as in a classical antipsychotic without the side effects. Because classical antipsychotics, as good as they are, they've been used since the 70s. They don't have that many side effects. they still have problems that can be caused, with memory and stuff like that. They're not as bad as atypical antipsychotics just because those ones are newer and there've been less tests, but they have problems. But CBD, there's been a lot of studies that have come out that it basically functions the same way that normal antipsychotics do, which is interesting because the THC component of marijuana is sort of a almost psychedelic inhibitor, the way that LSD or mushrooms are. And so for a lot of people who have schizophrenia symptoms or even a family history of it, it can cause hallucinations to occur as a result of the THC component. But if you simply remove that, then the CBD itself works the way that an antipsychotic would. And they've found that, it can reduce anxiety immensely and depression, whereas CBD can sometimes make those things occur, or excuse me, THC can sometimes make those things occur. And so, if you just take CBD by itself in quite large amounts, for me at least, in my personal experience, and the research would back this up, is that it stops hallucinations from occurring. So that's been very, very helpful to me. I cannot emphasize this enough. Way, way more helpful than taking antipsychotics ever was. And so, I would 100% say, unless antipsychotics are the only option and nothing else is working, do meditation, use CBD, try and build healthy habits instead of, just taking antipsychotics as your first option. I don't think it's the best first option to have. It can really fuck up your life. Like taking medicines like those seriously fucked up my memory forever, at least according to my doctors, and my personal experience seems to track with that. So be careful. Become cooking mama. Yes. Mood changes get you into fucked situations, and fucked situations get you into mood changes. Yeah, no, exactly. Like it compounds on each other. People underestimate the importance of that compound. Were you scared to get diagnosed for bipolar? Not really. It was just kind of something that happened. Like, the thing with me is that I've been diagnosed with so many different disorders, and they all contradict one another. Is that I've been diagnosed as schizoaffective before, which is basically, it's sometimes known as bipolar schizophrenia, is what it's sometimes called. And then I've been diagnosed as bipolar presenting as psychosis, which is literally a contradiction of that other diagnosis. I've been diagnosed as someone with major depressive disorder with psychotic symptoms. I've had basically every diagnosis under the sun, everything you can think of, and a lot of them directly contradict the other diagnoses, and these are from different doctors, mind you. And so literally all of the doctors that I've had have been unable to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. And so I really have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea what the problem is. But I wasn't scared about it. It was just something that happened. Like it was, I would have felt fine if I did or didn't get the diagnosis, because it's just something that exists. Like it didn't really affect me either way. It just happened. And so because it happened, I just thought, well, this is something I have to deal with now. But I didn't really feel anything about it. No, I felt pretty ambivalent. I don't think I've ever been scared to get a diagnosis for anything. And when I was growing up, I had a heart condition, pretty severe one, that I would go into tachycardia if I moved around too much, basically. If I ran outside and my heart really went going, I would get into tachycardia. And so I didn't go outside and move around physically a lot. I wasn't in school because of that, these types of things, because of the risk of going into tachycardia. And so because of that, I was always kind of trained to have the idea that at some moment, at some point, I could die. Maybe my heart will fuck up. Maybe the doctors will fuck up. I could die. And that's totally fine. Like, there's no reason to be scared of that because I could walk outside and I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. It wouldn't make any difference. It just happens. You know, when I got the heart surgery, I remember this very, very clearly. When I got the heart surgery that fixed the broken valve, basically they freezed the valve that was not functioning properly. You know, my whole body spread open and all this other stuff. I had to take these sedatives to go to sleep during the operation. And I woke up and I felt this tingling feeling like everything just felt kind of different, you know, and I had to stay in this fucking bed all the time because I couldn't properly walk and all this type of thing. And they opened me up, and I had to sort of live with the thought that if this operation goes wrong, I know these are professionals, but if this operation goes wrong and they mess this up on my heart surgery, I could just die. I could just die, you know. The star alive for 1 minute, totally gone. Bye bye. Zilch, gone, nothing, nada. And I that's totally fine. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Maybe it does or it doesn't happen. It doesn't really change anything. Uh, do you think self-diagnosis is enough, or do you recommend someone to go to a doctor? What if they're scared to get something checked out? I don't think self-diagnosis is enough. I think people should go to a doctor to find out if they have a specific disorder because, I mean, psychologists have been doing this for longer than I've been alive, longer than most of us have been alive. It's a study that's been constantly building on itself for, over 100 years now. So I think they're going to be the people who are in the ballpark of the right answer, even though they do contradict one another a lot, even though there are a lot of different diagnoses that exist. They're going to be the ones who understand the medicine better than any of us. Ultimately, we're just fucking stupid people running around with some basic ideas about psychology we read online. We're not psychologists. They are psychologists. And so even if someone is afraid of getting a diagnosis that they don't want to get, the fact that they got that is going to be better than them just sitting alone and not doing anything about it. But I do think it should be a last resort. You know, if there's nothing else you can do to fix the problem, then absolutely go see one, because self-diagnosis is not enough. You know, we're not medicine people. We're not trained in this field and all this other stuff. Trappening, you gotta be joking, of course. Self-diagnosis is not enough. Yeah, I agree. Self-diagnosis is like perform a self-operation. I wouldn't say it's like performing a self-operation because that's kind of an extreme comparison, but I would say it's definitely the same in the sense that it's not enough, and it can be dangerous. It can be dangerous to give yourself the wrong diagnosis and just say that you start identifying with the incorrect diagnosis because you were in the wrong headspace and you just believed you had something. It's dangerous to get into a head state like that. No, the professionals really should be the people who handle it, because they're the professionals in medicine. They have the degree, they have the work experience. Not that they shouldn't be questioned, but they certainly have more of a grasp on this than we do. But I think pretty much all the disorders that exist are a spook anyway. The only reason they're called a disorder is because we've all agreed upon a certain way to conduct the organization of society. And these little quirks that people have, the reason they're disorders is because they don't fit in line. They don't fit in the very small constrained box that we've created that says this is society and this is how you fall in line, that we've all agreed upon. And so they aren't disorders because of something just inherently true. They're disorders because we've decided they are, because they're spooky. So they're literally spooks. I mean in a way everything is, but it's one of those things where you should obviously take it into account, because you have to live in society. You have to function, organize, work, live, be alive. Unless you just don't want to, then you could just kill yourself. But most of us have to live in society. So it's important to get diagnosed and to sort of try and figure out how to tackle your problems so you can properly function in that space. Uh, when I said self-operation, what I mean is you cannot perform a self-operation because it is too dangerous. Uh, but that was just an example about how we need a professional to do that for us. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It makes sense. Oh boy. Man, we got on some interesting topics in this live stream. I did not expect that. Holy cow. Oh boy. I need to take another drink from the beverage that shall not be named, which is just water. Hmm. Oh no, I dropped it. How does that work? Magnets, how do they work? Hmm. But yeah, if you guys have like any questions or something, hit me up. Ask them. Ask away. I'd be totally inclined to answer and all that good stuff. Let me look here. Maybe there was something in the chat that I missed. Let me just make sure. I haven't watched a new video yet. Okay. Yeah, there wasn't anything I missed. Why won't you turn on the lights? What do you mean, why won't I? Do you want the lights turned on? Here, the lights are turned on now. Are you happy? I turned on the lights. It's bright. Why do you want these on? It's really bright in here. What do you mean, why don't you turn on the lights? Why would I want the lights turned on? Very happy now. What do you mean you're very why? For what reason? What possible motivation do you have to have the lights on? Oh, why don't you turn the lights on? Why? What reason? What reason? What reason would there possibly be? Oh, look at this. This is a cool shot right here. Oh, hell yeah. You get the posters in line, you get the wall scroll in line and stuff. You know what I want to do? Is I want to put a lane poster where the monitor is. I want to fill this entire wall with this entire corner right here with posters, just so it can get the full aesthetic. Like maybe have like an NHK poster behind there, and then have like two lane posters there to sort of like culminate around the computerized aesthetic. And then I don't know, maybe like an Akira poster there. I don't know what I want there. Maybe like a Lucky Star, maybe Azumanga Daioh. I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is put an Azumanga Daioh one right here, so you get like the complementary monitor stuff going on. I gotta figure that out. I was in the process of cleaning my room the other day to get all of the is your avatar your penguin Sona? No, that's the avatar is from the movie what's it called? Penguin's Memory. It's from Penguin's Memory. And so because it's from Penguin's Memory, I like the movie a lot. My bed isn't made up, by the way. I should probably make up my bed. But yeah, because it's from Penguin's Memory, I like the movie a lot, so I made it my avatar. You have a syndrome of vampirism. You will turn yourself into a vampire archetype. Yeah, that's why I've been going outside more. That's why I've been going outside more is so I can it's so I can not have the symptoms of vampirism or whatever. I want to see let me I have literally double duty curtains here. You can see outside right now. It's raining. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's basically raining out here. It's raining. You see this? Raining. Rain. Terrible. Absolutely horrendous. Disgusting. I actually like the rain a lot. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten more adjusted to looking at light. I've gotten more adjusted at looking to light over time, but at the same time, it's also still hard because my eyes hurt less than they did yesterday. Because yesterday my eyes were just aching constantly because I was in the sun most of the time, and today they don't hurt as much just because at this point I've gotten basically used to it after 4 or 5 days of being in the light all the time. And so I think I've kind of adjusted it at least, but I still like my automatic instinct is always to turn the lights off. That's just the way it is. It's the way I've always been. It's the way I was when I was very little. It's the way I am now. And so when I walk in my room, I turn the light off and I rant and I rant and I rave into the camera, hours on end, dogs and cats living together, absolute hysteria uh, in my mind right now. Uh, I'm sure that your eyes hurt when you see the lights, just like a bat. That's the way it is most of the time, yeah, but I've been adapting to it. I've been adapting to it. Uh, and I mean, even like after adapting to it, I still don't like it. Like there was a time where I consistently went outside, went to school and everything, was exposed to light regularly. Oh, look at me, I'm a normie now, all this other stuff. And I still didn't like it. Don't know what it is. Don't know if it's instinctual, don't know if it's genetic, don't know if it's autism, don't know if it's insaneness. But what I do know is that I've never been able to coherently, regularly, consistently enjoy sun. And that's the big problem. Big problem you got to deal with, especially because I want to travel to so many places. What am I going to do? Go to Tajikistan and become a fucking Tajik hikikomori? No, terrible concept, terrible idea, horrible. What anime are those colorful moe girls from? I can show you. This is from Ponyo Ponyo Digikara. That's the show. Good show. I made an analysis video of this show. This was the first anime I ever watched. The first anime I ever watched was Ponyo Ponyo Digikara. I was like 6 years old at the time, something like that. Was I 6 years old? I think I was like 6 years old. Yeah, it was a cool show. Good stuff. Good thing. See here, man, I wish I can see and hear the rain every day. I just love it. Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. Like whenever I get to see the rain, it always feels really cool. It's a really nice feeling. It really is, to be able to just sit out there and watch the rain fall, especially because, when I was living in Maine, I don't know how many times I've said when I was living in Maine in videos now, but I'm gonna do it. It's gonna become a meme. When I was living in Maine, it rained constantly, and I loved it because the sun was less bright when it was raining because the clouds were out. And so I could be outside and it felt like I was in my room because it wasn't as bright. And so I absolutely loved the feeling of being outside when it was raining. Granted, it was more cold, but that just added to the feeling, the aesthetic, the desire to be out there, because I loved the feeling of being cold, of my fingers freezing in front of me. Like, I don't think people understand just how good it feels to have your fingers feel like they're becoming frozen, because I would be outside in 0 degrees weather or like 10 degrees weather, and I would have my gloves on, I would have my coat on and everything, but it wouldn't be enough because I was poor at the time and I couldn't properly afford, the proper clothes that you're supposed to be wearing in weather conditions like that. So I was freezing at the time. I would get sick because I would be so cold, but I'd just go outside anyway. And like I loved the act of being that cold. I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain. Not everything is an aesthetic. I'm gonna have to hard disagree with that because, okay, let me try to define this. So an aesthetic, essentially what that is that it's a so okay, first let me define art, because the way that I would define art is essentially anything. Oh, one. Essentially, the way that I would define art is anything that is not essential to survival. Let's say, for instance, I had a bull. I killed the bull immediately, and I was so angry at that bull that I stood up, I looked at it, and I spit on that bull. Spitting on that bull was not essential to survival. I just did it. That had a meaning to it. It had a cultural context to it that gave it a sense of meaning. That would be art. And so when I talk about aesthetic, when I say this is aesthetic. What I'm essentially talking about is that it's art in the sense that it is not essential to survival. It's not something that is something that is something that we would typically use to be able to survive, right? But when I say it's aesthetic, I'm expanding on that idea. And so what I mean by that is that its existence is communicating so much emotion and so much meaning that there aren't just words to describe it. You can't just translate what the meaning is through words. Rather, it's a feeling that's so strong and overbearing that you see it and you get a concept out of it. You feel it, you get the concept of what it is, but you don't necessarily have the words for it in the moment because the emotions are so overpowering. Maybe if you spend enough time, you can write about it and you can explain the emotions through words, but that in itself is just going to be a translation of what the aesthetic is. The original understanding can only be derived from the thing itself, from being in the snow and seeing the smokestacks coming from the nearby factory, and being in that situation where all of the buildings just brutally coalesce between one another, where it feels like you're in this stacking prison of like things like this. They just go on top and on top and on top of one another, where there's so many different feelings being expressed, that there's so many different contexts surrounding each one of these elements, that when they coalesce with one another, it creates a feeling, an aesthetic that's so overbearing that it's no longer the simple definition of art. It's no longer just art, because now our definition of what that thing is becomes so complicated with so many varying elements with one another, that now we have to sort of expand upon it. We have to extrapolate more. There's too many feelings, too many paradigms to explore. And we can do that in writing, we can do that in words, but it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same feeling. It's a translation, yes, but it's an entirely different medium. And the fact that it's a different medium is going to inherently be expressing something different. And so I don't think everything is an aesthetic, but I do think everything is art. And because everything is art, it can be expanded upon to the degree that it can become aesthetic. So hopefully that makes more sense. Like what I mean when I say that is a lot of it just has to do with like your personal experience and how you feel. What specific contexts have you had in your own life that would lead you to feel a certain way about this art or these things that are occurring in front of you? Why do these elements coalescing with one another create the feeling that they do to be aesthetic? Those are the things that we would use words to then try to translate to understand what they are. But the feeling itself is the understanding. It's only when communicating it to others that we have to translate it. Yeah, the light is perfect when it's raining, and at the same time, the atmosphere is just so calm. Yeah, like I think it's the sort of calmness that you get out of it that's really nice. Like I just like being calm. Everyone is so obsessed with feeling so many emotions all the time. They just want to feel everything. I mean, feel this, feel that. Sometimes I just want to sit on the porch and just exist. Can I just exist in peace? Are you interested in clothing as a visual and plastic art? I don't know what you mean by plastic art. Do you mean art that's literally made out of plastic? I mean, if someone makes it interesting, that's kind of cool. Clothing, yeah, no, I think clothing is really cool. I like sort of using clothing to try and create a coherent visual aesthetic that says something about you and stuff. My issue with the overuse of the word aesthetic, besides the grammatical fuckery of its contemporary liberal usage, is how it's applied to non-visual phenomena. Aesthetics are visual. I mean, how do you define visual, though? Like, it is something, I mean, if you can get a coherent image in your mind of, something occurring, then that in itself is visual. It's an abstract concept in practice, but because you're getting a more coherent image in your mind, it becomes visual. Like you'd kind of have to define those words to be able to to be able to expand on what you mean. And I mean, at the same time, like the word itself has been used colloquially in such a way to sort of change the meaning of the word in the first place. Or like the meaning of word, if you look at a lot of words that were used, 50 years ago, you'd be hard pressed to find the same way that we use them today, or the same definition, the same cultural context that we would use them with today, because the cultural context itself has shifted. Now, when you're talking about like academics and these types of things, a lot of the words stay the same because there's a necessity to make them stay the same. And yet the sort of colloquial usage of them ends up changing what they mean in a social context, which is bad because those are academic terms that are meant to be used one way. One of my big gripes is when people try to say historical revisionism is about the Holocaust and people making stuff up. Not what historical revisionism is, it's just what historians do. So there is a sort of corruption that occurs as a result of colloquial usage of academic terms. And I think there should be a line that's drawn with those things. However, I think words themselves are subject to change in general. When you're not talking about the social sciences or just the sciences in general, when we're talking about just words themselves, I think when something is used colloquially in such a way, that only adds on the meaning that it already had. And so because the meaning itself has now changed as a result of colloquial usage that we all seem to understand and agree upon a certain way that it's being used, it now just means that thing because society has decided that. Plastic arts are the art forms in which you mold and manipulate physical things like clothing, sculptures, etc. I'm not really interested in that type of thing. Yeah, I'm not really interested in the idea of like molding things that already exist into new things. It just seems kind of boring to me. I'm very much interested in mundane things. Like, as odd as it sounds, I'm more interested by the mundane than I am by the things that are just absurdly unique. If something is abstract in practice, it's abstract, not visual. Visual has never been a word I applied. How do you define that to? As the adjective form of vision is if you can't see it, it's not visual. But like, it becomes visual in your mind. Like the feeling that you have begins to visualize itself as it occurs. Like, and I mean, if I could roll this back a little bit here, when I was saying aesthetic, I was talking about the weather, which is something that you can literally see. So like, I think that's sort of, I think that was sort of a bad basis to base the argument off of, because I was literally talking about something you could see in practice if we're going to be using those terms. But I do think like, even with abstract sort of things, like you can visualize, the emotions that you're feeling can be almost translated into a visual form that would communicate the same or at least very similar emotions anyway. And so I think there's several layers of abstraction to that point. But in the first place, what I was talking about was a literally visual thing. So hopefully that clears that up. Now that you were talking about art, I was thinking, where the ideas of anime authors come from, how in fantasies that they introduce reality? What does that mean? I gotta go. Good stream. Yeah, I appreciate you being around. Let me see. I was thinking the ideas of, but you opened another can of worms. Read the changings of meanings of words. I am open to the meanings of words changing in theory, but in practice I oppose most specific changes of words' meanings. I mean, I believe in order to I think in order to sort of dissect that point, I would have to look at the definition of aesthetic itself and then talk about how malleable it really is in practice. Because a lot of words sort of lend themselves to other meanings just kind of inherently, just because those other meanings are close enough in diameter to the base meaning that it was ascribed to in the first place. So, I mean, like, I don't think what I was saying was that fundamentally different from what the original definition was, but at the same time, I would have to look at it again and sort of pick apart that point further. see, what was I gonna say? I mean, there are things real behind some fantasies. So you're talking about you're talking about people's experiences that they use to make a fantasy thing. Yeah, no, I think most authors just do that. Like, I think most most authors are pulling from somewhere because like all of the concepts that you have in your head, the reason you have them is because they're building off of stuff that you already have seen or know in reality. You're not going to be able to just make something purely out of thin air. Like it's always going to be building on and compacting on the things that you already know and the things that already exist because literally everything we do is a product of external influences. So when we talk about how they were able to figure out how to make something in fantasy, what we're really talking about is them accentuating and adding extremity to concepts that already existed in reality, but just making them in a different form, or at the very least, taking influence from other works that have already done the same thing and adding a slightly different spin on them based on the individual experiences that you've had to sort of change those things around. It came from the let me see here. Oh boy. Aesthetic is a good example of a word with a changed meaning that I oppose because the change's origins came not from the true colloquialism. It came from online hipsters who pull the meaning change man card on the rest of society as if the whole of society consented to using the word in a new way. I mean, but like, why do you have to have the whole of society's? If enough people are using it, and enough people understand the basic idea of what you're saying, like, then yeah, there are going to be people who don't understand that colloquial usage. That is the same of literally everything. Like, I don't. Yeah, like it's not going to be something that's even widely used, but the fact that there are people who understand what you mean colloquially is indicative of the fact that you're speaking to someone. Therefore, the message is being communicated to someone. Therefore, the message in itself is valid. People understand what it is that you're saying, even though it isn't necessarily understood by everyone. If the intention is to communicate it with these specific purposes of speaking to people who use that word in its colloquial form, in that colloquial form, even though other people don't necessarily use it, the intention and the purpose is to speak to those people. It's not to speak to everyone else. And so, yeah, like I never implied that the entirety of society just said that the change was correct or good, because you're never going to be able to get that with most colloquial changes to words. There's always going to be the old guards who say, well, I didn't approve of that. No, I didn't approve of the way that that word is going to be used. But in practice, it just depends on who you're talking to. And I mean, it's important to acknowledge your audience either way. Like if you're speaking to a certain, if you're speaking to a certain group of people that you want to understand the message, then obviously you're going to communicate your message in a slightly different way. That's true of just any words that you use. And about the weather, I understand what you're trying to explain. You mean you can perceive something that connect with your inner world, just like everyone else see art in their own way you perceive. Yeah, like the reason I enjoy those more calm types of weather where there's like less like blazing light out and this type of thing is because it feels more relaxing, sort of as if you're more connected to your own inner world. Um, I ran out of water. I feel like no, wait, no, there's a big thing of water right here. What am I talking about? I ran out of water. Oh boy, it says it's rotating. Oh no. Oh boy, this is fun. I'm having a lot of fun today. Oh. Hmm. Uh, because it's not enough people. It's a small, primarily online, primarily young group. I mean, that's who I'm speaking to. like, like who do you think I am? I'm a young, primarily online, a primarily small person. I mean, my channel has 1,000 subscribers, most of those people know what I'm talking about because they come from the same internet communities that I do. I mean, if I want to get out a specific message that isn't talking to those people, or it's talking about a different type of message, then I'm not going to do that. Like, there are certain videos that I've written that don't explicitly use those terms, but talk about similar concepts because I was trying to market it to more people or trying to communicate it to more people. I don't think all of your work just inherently needs to be understood by everybody. I think sometimes there's even more value in almost gatekeeping it, making it to where there's a small niche group of people who understand what you're trying to say, and then because they're part of that small group, they understand it on a deeper level. It's part of their culture, it's part of their paradigm. And I think there's value to that for the individuals who do want to get it, who do want to understand the colloquial usage and the cultural context surrounding it. But not everyone will, and it's not for everyone. It's about the intention with which it's created, for whom it's created. And some concepts can only be communicated in that form. Some concepts are just a series of building on other ideas that have been introduced in this very cultural, very colloquial way. Like, if something was produced in a colloquial form based off of, the former cultural context that existed, and we build up onto that in a more advanced way with more concepts that have sort of been developed within that in group, then the process of advancing that sort of the process of advancing those concepts would be through expanding on them. But you're only expanding on them to that audience because only that audience has the beginning foundations of that context in the first place. And so yeah, it is limiting in a way, but if people want to understand it, they have the ability to understand it. I mean, clearly you know enough of what I'm talking about in order to argue against it and to know what these terms mean colloquially. So you understood enough of what I meant to get it. So I don't understand what the problem is, other than saying that, like, I should be someone who markets to more people, I guess. I'm very confused. Where are you planning on going to Japan? Probably Osaka. The majority of people constantly and publicly use memeified versions of real words are not doing so because they care about the artistic merits of communicating within specific in-groups. I mean, I'm not one of those people, though. Like, like most people don't think that way, but I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm not one of those people who, is trying to do that. I'm just trying to communicate my message in a certain way because I feel that properly complements what the message is, and I've thought about it. I do understand what you mean, because I have the same problem with a lot of people, is that they're specifically limiting themselves for no reason. And I can agree that that's definitely bad, but that's not my intention. If it seems that way, then I did something wrong, and I need to fix it. But that's definitely not the intention. Man, sorry, my connector is crazy. I was going to say this. When are you planning to go? Oh, when am I planning to go? That really fucking depends, because, like, I want to visit. I want to visit there. Maybe like when I'm on break in school or something. But I really don't know, because I'm going to be going to school in Vietnam, and so if all goes well, I'll be doing that. But if I end up being on break from school, I'd like to go visit. It just depends on how much money it costs, how much money I have. Really, what I'm focused on is how much money is it going to cost to go to school, and how can I get that done? That's mostly what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on the idea of when I'm going to go to Japan, because what's far, far more important is just getting school done. No, I have to focus on school first. And so, yeah, I'll go to Japan one of these days. I mean, you guys know that. I think I've been streaming for about enough now. I'm going to go eat something. Are you planning on giving up your citizenship? I think you've asked me this several times in live streams, and I've always said yes. I do plan on giving up my citizenship. I don't want to keep United States citizenship because I hate this country and I want to leave. I think the fact that I have United States citizenship actively makes me feel worse as a human being. I hate carrying it. I hate all of the moral quandaries that come with the fact that you are a citizen of this terrible country. I've said this many, many times. I want to relinquish it as fast as I possibly can and replace it with something else. Uh, if you give it up, you will never get it back. Yeah, no, that I want that. I want to never get it back. That's the point. I don't want it. I hate that I have it, and I want it to go. Um, so I don't know how much more clear I can make that because, like I've said in a lot of videos at this point, that I really, really don't want it. Like literally ever since like I was like a little kid, like a very, very little kid, I felt this exact same way. That's not an exaggeration. I have always hated this country with a very deep passion, and I want to go somewhere else and get different citizenship. So yeah, no, I want to get rid of my. What value is there to having United States citizenship? Oh, I get to have some of the most expensive healthcare in the world. Oh, great, fantastic. I get to live in a fucking boring ass imperialistic country that continues stealing the resources of every other nation to expand its wealth. Ooh, ooh, amazing. I'm so proud of this amazing country. I have to, on 4th of July, listen to people blowing everything up just so they can support mass genocide of the Native American people. Fantastic. Amazing. You know, I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of this country. I don't want any part of the identity of being an American, even though it's something I'm always going to have to carry. I don't want anything to do with our shitty fucking healthcare system. Don't want anything to do with our social programs that are falling apart. Don't want anything to do with the fucking terrible entire system of employment. Everything, the banking system, everything is broken in this country, and I want absolutely nothing to do with it. Star hates our freedom. Yes, yeah, no. I hate that we're gonna have Palma Raids 2.0. Unironically, like I feel like when capitalism collapses again, you know, when it happens, we're just going to have the Palma raids again. We're just going to have COINTELPRO again. I mean, the FBI never really stopped. Like, they never really stopped doing doing the COINTELPRO stuff. They said that they did, and then they went on Fox News and said, no, we still do that. And it's like they literally admit to doing it. And so, you know, the amount of surveillance, the fact that the surveillance state is just going to continue expanding, and that you know, we're going to be seeing more and more political assassinations and political arrests similar to the 20th century in the United States. I think it's a mess. I don't want any part of it, and it's only going to get worse. You know, we haven't ever had freedom. Freedom of speech has never existed in this country, but it's only going to come under siege even more. That was my anti-American rant for today. What I'm trying to say is that if you give it up and something goes wrong in another country, you will not have the U.S. as an option. I mean, what would go wrong in the country that wouldn't also go wrong in the US? Like, I feel like any of the countries that I'm interested in are more secure as countries than the US is. Like Japan has socialized healthcare. I mean, even Vietnam basically has socialized healthcare if I decide to stay there. Like, it's 70% of the population is covered with free healthcare, and it's based entirely on your income bracket. So if you're super rich, you don't get free healthcare, but you basically everyone else does. And they have price controls on like food and medicine. So even if you're really poor, because the Vietnamese government puts price controls on the food, you can still get access to food. There's a lot of like pensions and security services in place to help poor people in that country. I mean, the same is true with Japan, but they've put like a lot of austerity measures in recent years. And so like, I think any country that I would want to go to would literally be more secure than the United States, because the social programs are just stronger there and there's more political stability. So I don't really know what you would mean by something going wrong. I think if anything, If anything, I have a higher chance of stuff going wrong living in this country than I do living somewhere else, because here, like, I don't have healthcare right now. I have not had healthcare for many months now. Many months, I've literally not had healthcare. You know what could happen is that tomorrow I could get hit by a car. And if I got hit by a car, what would happen? I'd have to go to the hospital, wouldn't be able to pay for it, have, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of bills, medical debt that I would be into. That's a risk. That's instability right there, right there. Not being able to pay for healthcare. It's literally, if I have a near death experience or just an injury, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that I would have to pay in medical expenses. That is not security. That is the exact opposite of security. And so, I don't understand what would happen that would, oh, hello, look at this. He's a good boy. But yeah, I don't understand what would happen that would somehow be more insecure than the country I already live in. Like I grew up in poverty. Like I grew up in really, really immense poverty as a kid. And so I knew firsthand what it was like to be food insecure, to not be able to have food pretty regularly. So I know what that's like. I've experienced that ardently right there. And, I don't think if I lived in a country with a strong enough social welfare system, I mean, the job I'm going into would already pay me like $45,000 a year anyway. But if all of that just went away all of a sudden, I would be far, far more comfortable in Vietnam or in Japan being poor than I would being in the United States. Because at least the governments in those countries have the bare minimum of social welfare programs to give you the baseline of a proper a proper existence. I support you in your quest. Thank you, Liam. I appreciate it. How do you think the USA will be in 20 years? Oh my God. I mean, I don't like trying to predict the future because I think it's kind of futile to try and predict the future. But based on history, based on the way that things have gone, we never really recovered from the first financial crash. The 2008 crash. We never really fully recovered from it. And so when the next one happens, which I mean, all of the charts say it's most likely going to happen pretty soon. When the next one happens, the government is probably going to become a lot more authoritarian, and there's going to be massive amounts of poverty. The standard of living is going to drastically drop. I mean, right now, our life expectancy is going down. Our life expectancy has been continually going down because of the amount of suicides that are being committed as a result of the lower standard of living as the years go on. And so, we're going to be seeing more and more authoritarian measures that the U.S. government has continually been taking in the last 20 years. And we're also going to be seeing more poverty, just more suffering in general that we've, continued seeing a steep climb of. And, as China, becomes the number one world power, there's going to be a lot of crackdowns of political repression, things like that. I don't know where the USA is going to be, but it's going to be significantly worse. I know it's going to be significantly worse than it was before. Millennials now, their standard of living is what was it, like 10 times worse than anything that their parents had to go through? It's some like insane number like that. It's just going to be really bad. The one thing that I know for sure is that it's going to be bad. In what way it's going to be bad? We can only look at what's previously occurred in the past to sort of try and gauge that. But it's going to be bad either way. That's why I don't want to be here. That's why I've continually said I don't want to be here. My dog jumped up into my lap, and now I'm petting him. He's a good boy. But I haven't seen you in the chat in a while, Robert. It's nice seeing you here. Man, what about your Medicare? I don't have Medicare right now because basically what I had was when I was in Maine, I got basically signed up for what they called Maine Care, just like the Maine's state version of Medicare. And then when I moved here, Well, I moved to Las Vegas first, and I was going to get their version of Medicare, but then we became homeless and then left. So after that, I came here, and we just never signed up for the healthcare. So it's been several months now. We've just never signed up for it, and I just several months I haven't had healthcare because we've just never signed up for it. And so the healthcare I had there basically can't be used. Like it can't be used in this state because it's a different state. Um, and so I got no idea. I think what happened was that my main care defaulted to tin care because the basically like the way it was explained to me, and it was explained to me in a very roundabout kind of weird way, was that the main care became tin care again. Now, tin care is what I started out with, was when I lived in Tennessee, but now it needed to be changed to whatever version of healthcare Kentucky has, and I don't know what that is. It's been months now. We've just never went to the healthcare place. I have no idea why. We've just never gone there to sign up for the different version of it. Uh, we should. I've been saying we should over and over again so I can go to a therapist, but we just haven't done it. I wish I was brave enough to leave like you. I'm in college now, but I don't know. I mean, it's not really about bravery. It's just like it it's really not that dangerous in other countries, like in like arguably like the crime rates, like in Vietnam for instance, the crime rates are arguably much lower than the United States, and that's speaking statistically and in terms of people's personal experience. You hear women talking about being able to walk the streets at night by themselves and not even being scared of being robbed or pickpocketed or anything like that, because it's just safer, because the Confucianist ideals that the society has impedes them from committing those types of crimes. And then you get, the government obviously has a huge, a huge, what is it? What's the word? They have order there. The police has a presence basically. So the people don't want to commit crimes because of that. And then the people just don't want to commit crimes in general. But even if they did, like there'd be a pretty harsh sentence, and the police are there, like they do stuff. It's not like the government just sits on their hands. And so arguably the crime rate is much lower there than America. They don't have guns there. Like the guns are banned except for like one gun that's like one very specific type of gun that's not even that powerful. So they have no guns. No one's committing any crimes or anything like that. So the crime rate's lower than the US, both in terms of statistics and in terms of people's personal experiences. In Japan, that's like, what is it, like the lowest crime in the entire world or something like that? These are pretty safe countries. Like, there's no reason to say it's brave, is because all of the places I'm talking about are pretty safe in terms of in terms of crime at least. So I mean, if you wanted to go somewhere, just do it, man. Like it's about what you think is going to make you happy. If you feel like something is going to make you more happy, and it's also about stability. If you can be more stable while doing so, then try to do whatever is stable and at the same time is making you happy. Obviously, stay in school if you're spending money on school. Don't just leave school all of a sudden, because then you would be in debt for the time that you were in school. Let me see. I think it is brave having to leave your home. I come from a different background, though. I never moved around as much as you growing up. Yeah, it was sort of weird for me because I only started moving around a lot like last year. I lived in the same house for about 16 years, and then last year I just started moving around constantly. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so cool because it was something I always wanted to do, because I was just so bored living at that house, is that I hated living there. So I always thought, man, I wish we could move somewhere else. I wish we could travel. I had the thought constantly, even when I was little. And when we finally got to move to all of these different states, Oklahoma, Nevada, Maine, Virginia, all these different places, Kentucky and so forth, it finally felt like I got what I wanted, and I really enjoyed it. I loved, and I didn't just live in those states. I traveled pretty much the entire country. I saw the entire country right there, excluding a few states like Alaska. And so, like, you know, it felt so cool to finally go everywhere the way that I wanted to. Um, it it was something I always wanted to do. So when I finally got to do it, it was just really cool. And then I also realized that I didn't like America very much when I did that. But I mean, I already knew I didn't like America, but it just sort of confirmed the feelings I had. But like I don't know. It's just that I've always wanted to leave my home. Like it's never been something that I've had to muster up the bravery for, because for me it just felt like it made sense. Like it never felt like something that was like crazy, or that, I wouldn't want to do because of some kind of repercussions. It just always felt like it made sense. And so um like when I did travel the entire country, that year, it significantly changed my perspective. And I mean, I'm someone who's like ran away from home and stuff, and so I mean, it's difficult for me to feel fear about anything for the most part. Like, it's I can't remember the last time where I've actually felt fear about anything, which isn't really a good thing. I mean, if you can feel fear, I guess, like appreciate it, because it's an emotion or something. I don't know, some kind of Sartre humanist stuff. But I don't know, like it's been difficult for me to feel fear about anything for like a long time now. Uh, I don't understand how this country can be number one. Media promote this country like it is some type of heaven. Well, I mean, that's just propaganda. Like, the reason they do that is because like, we're the best at marketing ourselves to every other country in the world. We want to look like this paradise on earth, because then it makes our actions seem justified whenever we do something that's kind of questionable. You can't question the greatest country on earth, because we're bringing democracy to everybody. Everything we have to do is great because we're great. And so, we've sort of we've used this propaganda model that's so deeply rooted in our society to make it feel like everything we do is just good. I mean, when you go to school, when you go to the history class, you're told Christopher Columbus, the founding fathers, they're all these great people who did all these great things. And you have to pledge allegiance to the flag every single day. You have to literally pledge your allegiance, your loyalty, your soul, your life to the very country you live in, to the flag that represents that, while also spending time in a school that tells you just how great that country is, and just how little you should question the great things that we're doing all the time. You turn on the TV, and yeah, there may be criticisms of some stuff that we're doing, but they never tell you we're bad. All of the major media that's on television, all of it, it's all going to tell you how great we are, regardless of whatever criticisms they may have, however small. And so it really is like, it's the media, it's schools, it's social, all of it has culminated in, and I mean, even, movies and books and stuff. I mean, we promote the books that promote that image. And so abroad, you have us funding political parties, political affiliations, media associations that have a pro-United States bias. There's very, very in-depth studies of these things occurring. It's not a fringe idea. And so we've put so much money, so much time. The billionaires who run this country have put absolutely everything into making sure that we're obedient and we believe that this is the greatest country on earth, so that we fall in line, so we do what we're told. Um, Man, when I was in New York, I find there are so many crazy people on transport, people who I can see far away that they were literally out of their minds, and yes, they do have pistols. Yeah, like, I think people underestimate how many people walk around with guns in this country, because I've seen it. I've personally seen it. People just walking around with guns. And I mean, it was more so in the South that I've seen it occur, less so in the North, but it does happen. And like, when I was in New York and I was on the metro, And when I was just in McDonald's, there was this really funny instance in McDonald's where this schizophrenic guy came in. He sat right next to me, and he thought I was a member of like the Beastie Boys, and he was saying all this like crazy shit. He was yelling at the McDonald's worker, and they clearly knew who he was. And they knew who the guy was. It was just that, he just always came into the McDonald's, and he knew who they were. Um, but you could tell he had some kind of schizophrenia because he was just talking totally delusional. On the train, you'll find people just screaming at each other, or before you get on the train, just like yelling into their phone, like, I'm gonna fuck you up, bitch, and all this other stuff. Like, the amount of mental illness that's just so pertinent, just on the streets, just prevalent right there, right in front of you, the amount of times you can see it, like, it's honestly kind of incredible because it really is just everywhere. And I don't know. It I feel like you have to be there to see it, because once it's right in front of you, it really is real. We can talk about it all day. We can give so many statistics. We can say this is how many people killed themselves this year, and our life expectancy is going down, and this is how many were checked into a mental hospital. But when you see it right in front of you, it significantly changes your perspective on the entire country. And the country let those people down. That's what it is. The system let those people down. They didn't have the free medicine that they needed to properly treat those psychotic symptoms. They were homeless. A lot of these people, people underestimate just how many homeless people worked jobs, because the minimum wage in this country isn't a living wage, and they didn't have the ability to properly go to college or go to school because they were from a low income area that didn't give them scholarships, or that had a shitty high school that didn't properly teach them to get those scholarships, or they dealt with an abusive family at home, which were made that way as a result of education. And so they end up being in this very low income area, which was designed by its very nature to perpetuate being low income. And so they end up working this minimum wage job that doesn't pay them enough, as wages continue stagnating, as our living standard goes down and our prices rise. They end up being homeless, working jobs, sometimes two jobs. And so they're just homeless there working. And like, once you see the number of just how many people are homeless while working, it really is startling, because it dispels the entire myth that they're just somehow lazy. They want to, to make a living. I want to know more about this guy who thought you were a Beastie Boy. It was just this like black guy who had like these really dirty clothes on, and he was just like yelling incoherently. Like, it was really hard to tell what he was saying, because it literally felt like what he was saying was muffled. Like he was talking, and he would be in the middle of a sentence, and he would just put words in the sentence that just didn't make sense, or like he would like mumble a lot of his words, and it was really difficult to tell what he was saying. Really weird guy. Yeah, I don't know why he thought I was a Beastie Boy. That's one of the more weird experiences I've had with just random people that I can remember, at least. That's one of those things you just don't forget. Oh boy. But yeah, I really wish, because, I've spoken to rich people, people who are very rich online, in the anime community. And I'm more interested in the Beastie Boys thing. I mean, he just thought I was. I forget which member he thought I was. He just thought I was one of them. I can't even remember the name. But yeah, like, I feel like, when you talk to rich people online, like the amount of disconnect that there is, because I've spoken to these rich anime fans, who are millionaires, actual millionaires, you know, and they just believe all poor people are totally lazy, without even acknowledging, the school to prison pipeline, without even acknowledging, the wage stagnations that are occurring, without acknowledging the way that a lot of these high schools are passing students who don't even advance in the class, who didn't even properly pass. They just passed them anyway in order to secure funding for a school that's providing inadequate education. And the fact that so much of this stems from, the forced segregation in this country in the first place. And like, we haven't properly corrected the racial injustices that existed in the first place. They're just the injustices that exist through poverty. Like, once you see it right in front of you and you see the very real data, you speak to the very real lives that you see them, you talk to them, you can't ignore it. Like, and these people who are born into all of this wealth, or they just get really lucky, they sit here and act like, oh, you're just lazy, you're so lazy because you weren't born into wealth the way I was. You didn't get a loan from your grandfather to invest the way I was. Like, it's insane. It's literally insane. Because like, if you're in high school, for instance, and your family had to work minimum wage jobs their entire life. They didn't have time to get an education because education was too expensive. They had to pay for healthcare and all this type of stuff. You know, and you're in high school and one of your parents gets sick. What are you going to do? Are you just going to not eat, or are you going to leave high school to go to work yourself and pay for your family's treatments, or to pay for just staying afloat as a person, to stay alive? You're not going to finish high school if you do that. And you're sure as hell not going to have enough money to go off to college after you don't finish high school. And so you're stuck in this perpetual cycle of having a stagnant wage, where you end up having to pay more and more for stuff, and the prices and the costs just compact onto each other. What are you going to do? Just die? No, you're going to get thousands of dollars in medical debt. Like, it's crazy to me, the ignorance that these people have about basic, the very basic mathematics of these things. But that was my rant about income inequality for today. I get really heated about this because, like, I've had friends in the past who were just super rich. They just didn't even know about these things. And it's amazing to me because I've seen it. I've had friends who have had experiences exactly like the ones I'm describing. It really is the system perpetuating itself because people aren't allowed, a world or a situation where they can properly learn to be different than that, or even an opportunity to get out of that when they know that how to. Like, it's really crazy. I don't know. Look at this. It's a dog. He's so good. He's very focused right now. He's got a hyper focused look in his eyes. He wants to bite somebody or something. I spend so much time with this dog. I think this dog might genuinely be my best friend in the entire world. So I think I care about him. I think I care about this dog more than just about anything that's alive. Like I was talking in the video yesterday how I don't really care about anyone, and that's pretty much exactly true. But this dog I care a lot about. If he croaked, I would be very, very sad. How a doctor cannot heal himself can heal yourself, or how a psychiatrist will cure mental illness if they have mental illness themselves. Well, I don't think they would be in that field if they had a mental illness, because you wouldn't be. I don't think you would get the qualifications to be a psychiatrist if you're literally delusional yourself. Now, if you have depression or something like that, that's more manageable. And so, I mean, in some cases, you would get firsthand experiences from your own experiences that may help you be able to understand the medical profession better. But by and large, if you're so delusional that you can't get the medical qualifications, then that would mean you're just not a psychiatrist at that point. You just wouldn't have the job. If a doctor can't heal themselves, or if they can't be healed by others, then that would mean that they would not be a doctor. That would mean that they wouldn't be in the medical field because they wouldn't have the physical capacity to do so. Oh, this dog is so cool. He's so cool. Like when I take him outside for a walk and he just starts running around, and I'll throw him stuff, and he'll jump up and he'll pick it up when I throw it. And he always looks so cool when he does it. Look at it. His ears are so big, and I can just lay down and I can keep petting him and petting him. Now, when I get work next week, one of the things I'm really excited about is that when I get my paycheck eventually, what I want to do is I want to buy him better food, because he tends to not eat basically like the hard food that we buy him. And so because he doesn't eat it, I often just give him parts of my food, like Oh no, reconnecting. What happened? It said it was reconnecting. I guess the stream is back. But yeah, I'll give him parts of my food because he won't eat his dog food. And so what I want to do when I get my paycheck is I want to give him like wet food or soft food and this type of thing because I don't, I want him to eat more. Like he needs to be a healthy dog. He doesn't need to be, thin and not eating enough. I want him to be healthy. So when I get my paycheck, I want to try and buy him better food because he's a really good boy. Like genuinely, I think this might be like one of the only things that I actually love in this world. And I've always felt that about my pets. That with my pets, like I pretty much don't care about anyone, but my pets have always been the sole things in life that I've cared about. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just manic autism or what, but you know. How can a president who don't know how to manage his own family can possibly induce order in a country where he can't even control his own family? Good question. I think that's one of the big problems that we have right now. Uh, Most people don't know how to raise kids or even consider that type of thing. But like I think if you look at like statecraft in general, the act of statecraft, that is kind of its own profession. Like, economic management, geopolitical stuff, that those are their own fields of study. So it's like sort of like when Ben Carson is an amazing brain surgeon, genius brain surgeon. It doesn't mean that he's all of a sudden going to be apt at politics or even at knowing the difference between an REO and an Oreo. We've seen just how ignorant this man can be. So like people have specified fields of study that they're very good at, and sometimes they can be just absolutely retarded in every other field of study. They're just a savant for one and mediocre at everything else. So you can be really good at statecraft and not know how to manage a family, but the fact that you would know how to manage a family could help in certain ways. The big problem with the system that we have in the US and in contemporary countries is that uh, people just do, the president is just going to be another tool of the owner class. Both of the parties are basically exactly the same. They're owned by the same people, generally speaking. Yeah, they're owned by different members of the capitalist class who have different interests, but the same broad sweeping goal of profit is going to be upheld. And so because profit and profits and the perpetuation of capital is going to be the primary motive of their administration, there's not going to be very much difference within the two parties or even within each specific candidate. And so what you end up getting is a lot of the time, these candidates, it doesn't matter how good they are at statecraft. What matters is if they can do what they're told. And that's why the entire political system itself is broke, and it doesn't serve the interests of people because it's not made to serve the interests of the people. We live in an oligarchy. We don't live in a proper democracy. Uh, Family analogies are too moralistic for political discussions. Outright idiots such as Trump obviously can't be statesmen, but Stalin did not raise his family well and was a tremendous statesman. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, it's too much of a moralistic train of reasoning. Like I said, you can be really good in one field of study. It doesn't mean you're automatically good at all of the other ones. The point is that if you are fat, how can you be training people to not become fat when you are fat? Again, that's a moralistic statement because like the fact that you know that you are fat and the fact that you can study how to fix the problem, like if you can read in a book, you learning the knowledge of other people, learning how other people have done it. That's a form of experience. It's not literal experience in the sense that you've done it yourself, but it's a form of experience in the sense that you know what the experience of others generally is. That statistically speaking, enough people have agreed upon these methods of how to become fit that you would then teach others how to do so based off of those agreed upon methods. Doesn't mean you've done it, but it means you know what they are. And I think also, if you look at if you look at the fact that the person is fat themselves, they're in a good position to give advice about how to not be fat because they've made the mistakes. So they can properly identify what the mistakes are. And because they know what the mistakes are, you know, and they've experienced those mistakes, they have the knowledge and the experience to tell you not to make those same mistakes and to follow the agreed upon advice by everyone else. So I think this kind of moralism and this overemphasis on hypocrisy gets away from what the point is in a pragmatic, purely practical sense. But hopefully that makes sense. What was, did you say something? No, you don't get my point. Was a metaphor. Well, why does the fact that it was a metaphor matter? I'm talking purely in pragmatic terms. Ooh. Look at this. He's such a good boy. He's such a good boy. I don't understand people who can just kill animals. Like, why would you want to do that? They're so cool. Like, I had a friend who was really into hunting for a long time. I don't really talk to him anymore just because we kind of drifted apart. But he was really into hunting, and he would tell me all this great stuff about, I love hunting and shooting down animals and stuff. And so I don't know how people can do that. They're so cute. Why would you want to kill something that's cute and looks pretty? Like, I know they're gonna die one day eventually, but like you see them and you can't help but feel that there's something within them that you want to protect, even if, even if it doesn't last forever. It feels like you need to protect them, like you need to love them. They should be free. They should exist to be free, to go out and exist in nature and just frolic about and live peaceful lives. They should be free. So I don't understand why. I don't understand how anyone could ever, get off to torturing animals. When I see those videos of people torturing it. He's looking over there now. What are you doing, boy? I think he wants out of the room. I might actually have to go take him for a walk in a little bit. I might end the stream preemptively. But like when I see videos of people like stepping on cats or like torturing animals, it just makes me sad because they're sweet. They're such sweethearts. Like why would you ever want to hurt an animal? Like I can understand wanting to hurt people. Like I feel like if I were given the option to kill someone, if I had to, I would just do it. I'm gonna be keeping it 100%. I would just if I was given the option, hey, you want to ice pick this guy? Yeah, hand the fucking pick over. Let me do it. Like, with people, it's easy because with people, I just don't care, you know? But with animals, I can't help but feel a sort of sympathy that's kind of irrational in my heart. Because with human beings, I can rationally understand that there's no reason to not kill them. Like their lives are gonna end anyway. It's far more rational to remove the irrational elements of society that are bringing it down with their existence. Right? Doesn't matter to me. Just give me the gun and I'll do it. But with animals, there's like this irrational feeling in my heart where I need to protect them that I think most people would feel with human beings that I'm just completely unable to feel. When I see videos of people dying, I feel absolutely nothing. It's kind of fun in a way because you can see how people are dying in like interesting ways. Like I love those videos where people are like getting their heads cut off in a really cool way, and you can watch the blood splatter around, and you can being able to like those videos where people are like in Mexico and they're getting tortured, and you get to watch like the different ways that they're like cutting the body parts off before they die. Like that's cool. Like that's really cool to see because you're getting an understanding of like how the body works and how people react before they die. There's something really exciting about that. Like with animals, like it makes me sad. It makes me sad to see animals be hurt or tortured, that I just want to protect them. With humans, I give absolutely no fucks whatsoever. Let's see, I must confess that my most gruesome murder fantasies are dedicated not to the capitalist class, but to poachers, though there's some overlap between groups. Diane Fossey did nothing wrong. Yeah, like No, that's the thing is that I really hate poachers a lot. Where like when I see those videos of people, poaching animals and like torturing them in certain ways, I just want them to die. I just want them to be dead because those animals did not deserve anything that they got. And I think the people who did them, it would be very, very fun, to make those people feel the suffering that they levied on something else. That's fucked up, bro. Yeah, I know it's fucked up. I just don't really care. Your sentiment is that, wait, what I'm trying to say is that if I can be poor or low money, how can I be a teacher and financial? My point is we have so many people here in the US like that who don't know how to fix their own problem. At Robert, the sentiment has value, but you can't keep using really weird and inapplicable metaphors that take away from what you're trying to convey. Yeah, no, that's what I was trying to say. The point is that if you are fat, okay, I don't want to. You're just repeating the same thing now. There's something really exciting about describing the awesomeness of the descriptions of the visual of a cute doggy. Yeah, like I'm kind of I'm beginning to realize as I describe this, I'm kind of an insane guy. That was kind of the point of the last video. That was kind of the thing that I was trying to convey in the last video is that I'm not you know don't think in the most normal way that people do, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hurt anybody. Just if any of you ever meet me IRL, if any of you ever meet me IRL, not gonna, I'm not dangerous. Just because I have these feelings doesn't mean I'm dangerous. Let me clarify that 10 times over. I would like to live for, at least 20 or 30 years longer. Jeez. I'd love a board which is both human gore and cute animals and nothing in between. Yeah, no dead animals, just cute ones and then human gore. Oh my fucking god. I love like it. I'm not gonna say that. Okay, I need to rail it back here. I'm not gonna get demonetized here. I need to. Okay. Anyway, moving on. I love my bros and don't want to see them hurt. Well, I mean, if my friends were hurt, I wouldn't enjoy watching my friends be hurt. I just wouldn't care. Like if someone who I knew, if someone who I knew and I watched them get hurt right in front of me, it wouldn't bother me because I know that like I've seen this happen right in front of me in the past where like people have gotten hurt in pretty significant ways or like, I've seen people just really bad stuff happened to people right in front of me who I was supposed to care about, who I've spent a lot of time with and do care about on some level, and it just did not mean anything to me. It just happened. And I'm like, well, looks like that happened. If you need help out on Sunday, like picking up the boxes in your house or something, give me a call, like that's the extent to which I care. Star, I have another question for you. You have 17 years, right? Yeah, no, I am 17 years old. Yes. I hope you don't knife me. There's no reason to. Like, what's the fun in knifing someone who, hasn't done anything? There's no challenge. Like, if someone is evil, if someone is doing something wrong, there's an immense sense of satisfaction that one can receive out of killing people who deserve it. But if you just exist, what fun is there in that? Like there's no and like even if someone, if I could get away with it, I totally would. But like even if someone is, let's see, what was I gonna say? Like there's no fun in just killing somebody who who hasn't done anything, and like oh, gee, I'm sounding really fucking insane right now. Holy shit. I've been going off the rails here. Uh, we're getting in deeper territory than I typically get into. Uh, and it's funny because I said in that video that I don't typically get excited about these types of things, which is true. Like, I don't actively get excited about it, like the mere concept of it, but I'm also fascinated by it. And, oh, Lord. Uh, A star, oh, why are you not 50 or 70 years old? Can you answer me scientifically? Why are you not 50 or 70? After you give me your answer, I will tell you why I asked that. What do you mean? The reason I'm not 50 or 70 is because I haven't existed for 50 or 70 years. Are you trying to put me in one of these like postmodernist traps or something? Like what is this like a postmodernist thing? Is this like are you gonna pull out some Deleuzian stuff? I don't know what's going on here. Are you gonna? He's gonna tell me about Foucault. That's gonna be the next response. He's gonna tell me, well, Star, the relations of power have a big effect on what you're saying. Oh my God, he's so cute. He's so fucking cute, dude. Look at him. He's such a good boy. LMAO, I enjoy. I appreciate it. I appreciate the enjoyment you fellows receive from my descension into madness. But I don't understand. I legitimately don't like, and it's so weird because I used to have this type of like empathy and moralism of stuff of like, oh, I feel bad when I see people in pain and stuff. A while back I did. But over time, like it was like I was explaining like an hour ago in the stream, is that over time, when you experience so many bad things in your life, you just completely lose the ability to care. It's gone. Like the emotional numbness ultimately comes out of a place of pain. It comes out of eventually when you've experienced so many bad things yourself, it's difficult to not do bad things, because you're unable to not want to. Like, okay, no, that's a bad framing of it. It's sort of like you can choose not to, but like the emotional numbness is there. Like I really hate framing it in this way because it makes me sound very monstrous. Like that's the thing that I was specifically trying to avoid in that video. But it's one of those things that like it it's difficult to care when you've experienced so many instances in which you had to not care, or else it would have just hurt you for so long. Like I don't know, man. I don't feel empathy either, but it hurts me that I don't have empathy. Well, I mean, that would be a form of guilt. I don't feel guilt. Uh, I think I'm trying to remember back to the time, like, because I pretend to feel guilt all the time. Like it's just a thing that I do because it's socially, you're socially obligated to do that. You're expected to show some kind of uh, affect, to show some kind of feeling of guilt. And eventually I've just gotten very good at pretending to, but I don't care. Like it's so hard for me. I have to make myself care, and even then I'm not really doing it. It's just an image. It's just an image of caring. And like it's difficult for me to feel guilty about not feeling empathy either, because I just don't feel guilt. Like I can pretend to feel guilt very easily, but it's not real. It's not ultimately based in any reality. It's just a game. It's just being able to act out something. The internet, dark web, makes people weirder and weirder. I mean, in my specific experience, like it wasn't looking at stuff on the dark web that made me this way. It was just personal experiences I had in my life that eventually just made me more numb as a human being. Like, I mean, you try to have a knife pulled on you at a very young age by your own brother, be chased around with it, have your life very much threatened in that situation, beaten down by your own brother who you continually, try and speak to and try and spend time with. And, you continually come back just to get hurt over and over again. Like, if you have experiences like that at such a young age, it's going to fundamentally alter the way that you perceive the world and experience emotions. It just does that. And like I got so used to this, putting on this affect of, I have to cry, I have to present myself as a very emotional person, so much so that like the acting just became an instinct, that it wasn't something that I felt, but I was able to sort of make myself act that way anytime that I wanted to. I could turn myself into any character that I wanted to, by being able to remember, who I was at this point, keeping up with every single lie that I told that person to be able to build a character that would make them believe I was a certain way. And in a way, it's kind of fun, but I don't like the fact that it is fun because I want to be completely authentic. So I try to tell only the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Um, that was sort of the point of that video. But like, it's one of those things where, you know, I don't know. Is this sounding very odd? I have no idea. Exactly, you can't change the age your DNA because biology always wins and is proof scientifically that if you are over 50, you cannot go everywhere. And you said you identify like 90? I never said I identify as a 90-year-old. I think I'm a 17-year-old. I might have made a joke about being a boomer. That was literally a joke. Uh, I don't, yeah, I don't think I've been told I'm an old soul by a lot of people. Like pretty much everyone IRL always tells me that I'm an old soul, whatever the hell that means. Um, but I think I think in a pretty young way. I mean, I talk about fucking Camus for God's sake. How young is that? Um, but but yeah, like I don't know. I don't really remember what I was talking about. Uh, Maybe I am a pretty fringe guy. I tried to say in that video that I was pretty normal. I tried to say, oh, well, it's just a lack of feeling, guys. Come on, it's just nothing spooky going on here, which is mostly true, but the underlying spooky stuff I didn't talk about. Look at this. Woo, woo. He's such a good boy. Mhm. I feel like I should turn the light off because I don't like that the light is in his eyes. So if he could get up, he's just laying down on his back. He always does this. He always lays down on his back. So I have to pick him up. I have to literally pick him up and put him down. I don't. There we go. Okay, but he wants to spend time with me again. Look at this. He wants to bite. Bite my finger, boy. Okay. But yeah. Woo! Look at this. He's such a good boy. I should take him out for a walk after this live stream. Yeah, he really wants to go out. The reason I don't let him out of the room at this time is mostly because the other dog is out there. And so because the other dog, she's a female. So because she's a female, we don't want him to run around and procreate with her and all this other stuff. So what we end up doing is just, just leaving him in here most of the time. But it's sad because he doesn't get out to walk enough because of that. So I try to take him out to walk. I try to take him out to walk as much as I can. Oh boy. Let's see. My point is, if you were born a man, you are a man. Oh my fucking God. I have to deal with this bullshit. It is too early in the morning. I don't want to fucking hear this, man. It is way too fucking early to listen to if you're born a, oh my fucking God. What? Do you realize what gender is? Do you know anything that you're talking about? Are you this fucking stupid? Holy fucking shit. Yeah, other topic. Let's move on to something else. I don't want to deal with this today. Oh boy. Where did this come? Yeah, I don't understand where I don't understand where this came from at all. It totally totally came out of nowhere. Sex is biological, gender is psychological. It's not that hard to grasp. Thank you. Thank you for someone else for saying that. Different bodies, different genders. Well, you realize that the act of taking estrogen or testosterone literally changes the brain and the body on a physiological and psychological level. You realize that, right? It's not like your sex is literally changing, but it changes you significantly to use those things. And I think it's immensely disrespectful to assume that the transgender people who are enacting that change to change their gender role, psychological role, not biological like sex, to assume that they're simply, trapping you or pretending to be something else is immensely disrespectful and scientifically ignorant of what those terms are made for. So get better. Don't be a fucking asshole, man. Hiding in my room starts to get drama with his clickbait and fake drama. I mean, that's just how people make money on this website. I think I should make a video now that the cat has gone out of the bag and I've totally completely accepted talking about some of the more bad stuff. There I want to make a video talking about this time, and this is sort of a hiding in my room style video. So for those who, oh, my parents just got home, so the dog's freaking out. I have to hold him now. But yeah, this is going to be a hiding in my room style video. So maybe you guys who are fans of his videos might enjoy this. But I want to talk about a sexual encounter I had where my best friend's girlfriend, basically cheated on him with me, and I basically fucked him over. I basically fucked him over by sort of convincing this person to cheat on him with me, I literally just did that because I thought this person was cute and I just wanted to fuck with him. I think that would be an interesting video to talk about. That would be be a very hiding in my room-esque thing. That was less than a year ago too. That was not even that long ago. Um, I want to talk about that. That would be really funny. And I mean, they probably could find the video too. I don't even think that they know. Uh, so I think oh geez, you're getting very authentic star now. 10 out of 10 premise, yes. Yeah, like I want to talk about that at some point. I think those of you who are fans of Daniel's videos might get a bit of a kick out of that. Oh boy. I try like I have genuinely tried not to do stuff like that anymore. Like, I'm making this 100% clear. I try to act in moral conscience, by the way, in spite of these things. I think I am a better person now than I was then. I don't think I'm, it's clarification. My reputation is under siege here. It's under siege. Mm. Oh my fuck! I'm like 5 seconds away from just banning this person. Yeah, I'm like 5 seconds away from literally banning this person. It's just stop. Just stop. You don't you don't know what you're talking about. Just put the gun down, lower it, we're all friends here. I actually I've been streaming for about 2 hours and a half at this point. So unless any of you want to ask some like real fast questions, I'm probably gonna head out because I want to play video games now. The point is that the point is that if you are fat, how can you teach me about bodybuilding? You have to make yourself an example and start that with yourself. Yes. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, if any of you have anything you want to like add or like ask real fast, I can star science said no, that I just told you what science said, and if you refuse to listen to what science said, I can't help you, man. I told you what the facts are. And if you refuse to listen to facts, then I can't help you. GG's star LMAO. Yeah, this was a very interesting live stream. This is a very interesting stream. I gotta say. Yeah, I'll see you all later. I'm gonna give it like 20 more seconds because there's probably delay. I'm gonna give it like 20 more seconds for people to ask something. And then I'll try and answer it if anyone has anything they want to say. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, tell me. Okay, I'm not answering that. What was the cat out of the bag? It was basically a video where I was talking about emotional numbness, this type of thing. Yeah, that was basically the point of the video. Jordan or LeBron? Oh my God, that is a hard question. Holy, you're getting me with the tough ones here. I mean, like LeBron James, like everything I know about LeBron James, he just seems really cool. But Michael Jordan was like a big capitalist guy. Like his whole career was like selling stuff, right? Like he became like the first guy to really like to really sort of systematize selling stuff. You know what? Okay. Yeah, you're banned. Let me. Where's the ban button? Put you hide user on this channel. Gone. But yeah, I think wasn't Jordan known for sort of systematizing being a basketball star? Like, wasn't he the guy who changed the entire game? Who changed the entire game to make it more about like marketing and personalities and stuff? I would say that's kind of bad. So I would have to go with LeBron. I may be getting both of them completely mixed up in that regard, but yeah. Okay, goodbye everyone. This was fun.